When reflecting on your journey towards a long-term goal, objective, or pursuit, it's important to reflect periodically to assess the progress that's been made, the mistakes, the problems, the obstacles you've had to overcome. I think it's a very healthy exercise to conduct. And even if you still are not close towards hitting that imminent goal at this point in time, chances are, if you've put good effort, focus, and you've been determined and you worked hard towards something, some gains or some knowledge or some insights would have been made throughout this process that can be taken as wins. And more importantly, you think back to the more troublesome times and poor experiences that you've had, and those memories tend to stick out just as much as the wins for good reason because you've learned from them. And so when I reflect on my own running journey, I'm now ramping up for my fourth marathon attempt. I'm going to look to go sub 3.5 hours. My long term goal is to run a sub 3 hour marathon to qualify for the Boston Marathon. I know I still have a long ways to go, but a recent win that I had was a new PR set for my half marathon run. I recently ran the Georgina Marathon and came in at a time of 1 hour 38 minutes. My previous personal record was 1 hour 45 minutes, so a pretty big improvement. And it's been great. It's been a very healthy, strong, successful training block, but I still so vividly remember the experience of running my first and second marathon. My first one being a brutal experience just purely because I was inexperienced and didn't know what I was getting myself into, made so many mistakes. But also my second marathon where I poorly managed an injury leading into the final weeks of training and ultimately ran the race injured, didn't finish the race, caused long-term damage in terms of my injury, which ultimately forced me to step back from running for several months to properly recover, and ultimately throwing away nearly a year and a half worth of training and pretty much resetting my cardiovascular fitness. Maybe not to zero, but just a huge gut punch from a progress perspective, to then having 2 years of solid progress and making good gains. And I look out into the next few years, and I think it is possible for me to hit this goal within 2 to 5 years, being realistic. But that said, I go into every race with a very humble attitude, knowing how poorly things can go when the weather isn't right, when you don't get your nutrition right. Sometimes it just might not be your day, despite doing everything else correctly. But you want to learn to control as much as you can. And so far, this training block, I've really done my best to take control over as much as I can. And it's led to a great outcome. And so I'm just reflecting on the wins, reflecting on the poor experiences and the losses. And I feel very optimistic going forward. So I think, regardless of what goals and objectives you set out for in life, it's important to pause on a regular basis and reflect. That's how we get better and we continue to improve. And so we don't make the same mistakes that we've made in the past.